Winter can be pretty tough on vehicles in Canada, and sometimes we lag a bit behind in properly preparing our vehicles to deal with the weather conditions. The result can be simply inconvenient. Other times, it has potential to be dangerous. Joining us to give us some timely advice on this is Peter Van Liere, a licensed mechanic and owner of Southern Alberta Auto Care, located just southeast of Lethbridge. Peter, great to have you with us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So the first thing that comes to mind with winter is snow and ice, which is usually reminds is a good idea to get winter tires. But some drivers say, "Oh, I'm just fine with all-season tires." Can you explain why winter tires are better?
Well, winter tires are better, but there's also been some good all-weather tires that came out on the market. And when they say an all-season tire, however, that's not that great of an idea. All-weather tires, we have a few different ones that we install on a regular basis, and one of them that's really effective is Michelin Cross Climate. And I'm not here to advertise, but that's a really good tire if you're looking for a good tire for winter and all year round.
So you're talking about like all seasons and all weathers. So can you explain the difference?
All weather is a tire that is good for in the mountains as well. You have to look on the tire. There's a 3-peak snow mountain symbol, and anytime between October the 1st and I believe it's March 31st or April 31st, you need those kind of tires to go through the mountains legally.
Right, because like here in southern Alberta, it's kind of like a road trip region. Like you can go to Calgary, you can go south of the border, you can go to into BC, like Invermere or Radium, and there's restrictions regarding the tires you have in your car.
Correct.
Can you talk about that?
Yes, and also the tread depth. You might have some tires with the symbol on them, but if they're older and worn out, then they're also not legal to travel with, which I think it's 3/32, if I'm correct on that, if the spec of the tire depth, the tread depth, yeah.
So there are people that just put on 2 winter tires as opposed to 4. Can you can you touch on that? Like, is that even a good idea?
Yeah, it's definitely not a good idea because you could lose control that way, because 2 winter tires have more traction than your all-season or your wore-out other 2 tires. So you need a set of 4 winter tires to have good control. Any all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive especially, you need the same kind of tires all around the vehicle.
Can we talk about the importance of tire pressure for a bit?
Tire pressure as well. The colder it gets, the air pressure shrinks down. And you need to just double check your tire pressures, because if it's 40 below outside, it's going to be a little bit lower than when it's 20 below or 0. So yeah, it's something you got to monitor throughout the season.
Right, and of course, freezing cold temperatures are not a friend of cars. So how do we know when it's time to get a battery replaced when we have those freezing cold restarts?
Well, it's a little bit tricky because a battery might show up very strong right now, and say you got a battery that's a couple years old, it might seem okay, but when it hits 30 below or 40 below, it might not work for you. So it's something that if your battery seems okay, it may be okay, but it's good to just check it over and make sure that it load tests properly, and that's something that a mechanic should be able to do for you.
And during the cold months, people like to plug it in their car just to keep the block heater warm. Any advice on how long this needs to be plugged in prior to starting your car, and what temperatures should you be plugging in your car?
Yeah. First of all, I like to suggest check your cord first, because a lot of times we get customers come in and the plug has been wiggling around all year long and it's broken.
Oh.
So make sure that it's working. You can test it with an ohm meter or even plug it in and you might be able to hear the block heater working. But just make sure that's working first of all. And the temperatures...
How do you hear the block heater working?
Well, a lot of block heaters now you won't be able to hear because of it's just plugged in dry. But if it's in the cooling system, you can hear it start to sizzle.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
But as far as the block heater is concerned, yes, make sure it's working effectively, and usually up to about 20 below, you're okay without it.
Okay. And then when it comes to jumper cables, does it make a difference of what kind of cables you use on your vehicle? And can you explain how to properly boost a vehicle?
Okay, so usually I like to go for a heavier set because the fact that the colder it is, the more your system is taxed, of course. And what you do is you hook up your dead vehicle first, positive and negative, to the battery, to the dead battery. And you hook up the positive to the live vehicle, and then after that you would hook up your negative to another spot, metal alternator bracket or something like that. That's because sulfuric gases form above the battery while the vehicle's charging.
Oh.
And there's a chance of an explosion if you make that final connection. There's always going to be some kind of an arc there.
So you talked about a heavier set of jumper cables. How do you define that, and how does the average person define or recognize a heavier set of jumper cables?
Yeah, so you can get I think it's a 2 gauge or a 0 gauge, and the smaller the number, the heavier the cable. Yeah. So there's also 4 gauge ones out there that are lighter. And of course, I always look for the heavier option.
So, and how do we determine if our antifreeze level is at the proper level, and if it's at the right mixture to prevent freezing at cold temperatures that we're subjected to here in our province?
Well, first of all, there are testers available to check the temperature of the antifreeze as to how cold it's good for. And the levels, depending on if you got a pressure tank or pressure reservoir that houses your antifreeze, there's always level indicators because it's fairly translucent. As far as the other system with a cap on a radiator, you would remove the cap only when the engine's cold. Never do that when it's hot because it might explode in your face and burn you. So that's not recommended.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. And there's times where I drive to work and I see people driving with iced up windshields or on their back windows. Should we be checking our blower fans and defrost regularly? I mean, obviously there may be some negligence on the driver's part here too.
There may be. You got to warm up your vehicle before you drive in the wintertime, and of course the colder it is, the longer the warm-up time should be. And make sure that the doors in your heater box are working. I mean by that, check your different modes and make sure it can switch to the defrost mode. Make sure your defroster grids are working on your back windows. And if nothing else, make sure you scrape it good before you leave.
And then what about oil? Should we be switching up our oil for winter, or different fluids that we need to put in our vehicles?
Well, of course, we got to check the different fluids and make sure that the levels are up, because all the systems in the vehicle are heavier taxed the colder it gets. But as far as engine oil, some vehicles, especially older ones, they say, for example, 1030 in the summer, 530 in the winter. But these days, the newer vehicles, they're the same. It could be a 020, could be a 520. They recommend it all year round.
And let's talk about belts and hoses, because they can crack over time. Do they need any special attention during the winter?
They don't, but I would suggest to make sure they're in good condition before the winter sets in while the weather's still tolerable. Okay,
so let's talk about gas then, because I've heard that if you run your gas tank low, it could lead to freezing of your fuel line. Is that true?
Well, with today's systems, that's not as likely as with the older ones, just the positioning of the fuel pump and the way it's pressured. But I do recommend to run the top half of the tank as much as possible due to condensation that can set in. And yes, it can cause moisture in your fuel tank.
Okay, so if you're running your fuel tank low, what could happen?
Well, potentially, if there's enough moisture in there, that it could cause little ice chunks, and eventually it could, if it's bad enough, it could plug up a filter. I've never seen that, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so then what about fog lights? Should we be using those during winter driving?
Well, if the vehicle's equipped with it, it's a good idea to. They're driving lights, is what they typically call them. Years ago, we used to mount fog lights on vehicles with a yellower light, and that's a great idea, especially in a snowstorm or a foggy day. It makes it easier to see.
Okay, and then what about some final tips about winter driving? Anything else that you want to add?
Well, first of all, keep your distance. Drive according to conditions. A lot of people, especially in the first snowfalls and freeze up, they tend to go a little bit too fast, and we see way too many accidents on the road. But be careful, keep your distance so you got enough time to slow down and stop, especially if some accident or some emergency happens in front of you.
So what if you are driving too fast and you tend to tail fish a bit? How do you get out of that?
First of all, don't panic. That's what a lot of people do, and that's when they really lose control. So on a front-wheel drive vehicle, then you would hit the accelerator if distance allows you to do that, and you pull out of it. That doesn't work in all situations. On a rear-wheel drive, you would back off the accelerator so your vehicle can pull straight.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people are inclined that if they are on an icy surface, they would want to hit the brakes, and instead they should actually hit the gas and
that's right.
Pull them forward.
That's right. Pull themselves straight. A lot of times, especially on black ice, as soon as you hit the brakes, you've lost it pretty well.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So have you encountered a lot of issues with that with people that have tried to slam on the brakes and then things didn't go well for them?
Well, one thing to keep in mind too is that most of the newer vehicles are equipped with an anti-lock braking system. So a lot of times, if it's too slippery, it basically kicks it out and it doesn't even allow you to brake anymore. It's just to keep control, keep the tires from slipping. Yeah. Which in some vehicles, it gets to be kind of scary and people panic because nothing's happening when you press on the brake pedal.
Peter Van Liere is the owner of Southern Alberta Auto Care, located just east of Lethbridge. Peter, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
I'm Naveen Day. On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, thanks for watching.